Welcome back, everybody, to another Pickled Dragon Unscripted. We've been on a roll lately, but there's been a lot going on, namely all of the to-do revolving around Rob Kuntz, the 50th anniversary book where Watsy decided to absolutely I don't know if I would go as far to say to slander, because I think slander is spoken word, isn't it? And then the
I
bill is
don't
written.
know if it seems like slander to me. I don't think it has to be spoken in a court of law. I don't think it has to be.
One of them's libel, one of them's slander. But in any case,
Either way, it's not great. I'm sure one of our followers is a lawyer and we've been
yeah.
drinking, people. So what are you drinking today, Matt?
Oh, bullets. Ugh. Just
I yeah.
clean and fresh and yes.
I,
Okay.
I got some cognac today,
Oh
guys. So let's
yes.
jump into this chaos.
Yeah. So when the preface to the 50th anniversary book came out, and it had all of those delightful things to say about the TSR old guard, uh, of course, Rob Kuntz had his response, and all of the YouTube personalities and other personalities of the RPG world had their say. Well, it didn't stop there. Of course, there was a small army of people that came together to defend the old guard. Well, we have those who, on the flip side, have done their cherry picking and decided that they needed to balance the scales a little bit, even if it was a bit misleading.
Cherry picking is
So
a good word.
yeah, so we're gonna. Oh, and hey, welcome
What?
back from your excursion,
It's
Nicoya.
so good to be back, guys.
I almost forgot. We're getting so far ahead of ourselves. We almost forgot to welcome back Troya.
Thank you.
So good to have her back. So I'm going to start sharing some tweets or Twixes or whatever you want to call them these days.
Yeah.
Uh, Here we go.
Tweet.
So Ben Riggs comes out and he says, uh, D&D co-creator Gary Gygax was sexist, talking about it as key to preserving his legacy. And then he has a little quote here where it says, "Damn right, I am sexist. It doesn't matter to me if women get paid as much as men. They can jolly well stay away from wargaming in droves for all I care." Boy, that is that is scathing, an indictment of his entire existence. But only if that were the whole story, right?
Right.
Only if that were the whole. So that quote came out of a publication. It was kind of a gaming zine in the mid 70s by Walter Haas, a Swiss gamer, Switzerland there, and the publication was called Europa. Um,
Let me read
so
this next one.
yeah, so if we dive into this a little bit more, Ben Riggs goes on and he goes on to talk about Bahamut and Tiamat. The game gave us, and we're talking OD&D here. The game gave us two new dragons, King of Lawful Dragons and Queen of Chaotic Dragons. The male dragon is good and the female dragon is evil. It is a repetition of the old trope that male power is inherently good and female power is inherently evil. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah.
It's
So
not like historical or anything. There's not yin and yang where yin power was on the darker side of things or any kind of reality. Gary Gygax definitely just came up with this all by himself.
yeah, it's just all you
Yeah.
know. And then this is the quote that the preface to the OD&D where it all started 50th anniversary book comes in, where they're talking about the dragons, and at the very end it says, "Women's lib may make whatever they wish from the foregoing." So again, they're making light of the fact that they chose a queen of chaotic dragons. There's only one queen of chaotic dragons, and this is proof of sexism. Of
I don't know
course,
about anyone else, but I'd love to be the queen of chaotic dragons. Come on.
But well, and in the historical context of the 70s where women's lib was really exploding on the scene, um, I think it's an interesting it would be an interesting deeper dive to take on that single line and to look at what was happening between the sexes in the 70s because there was a lot changing.
And
But
that's
this
why.
video is not about that, obviously. This video is about the indictment of the TSR old guards, namely Gary Gygax's
Right.
you know, their it's really an indictment of their legacy, right?
Right.
So doing a simple Google search of Tiamat, we find that Tiamat was a goddess, a female, associated with primordial chaos and the salt sea. So, you know, just they borrowed from history like D&D has done many times before. They've borrowed from history. They've taken Tiamat, a goddess who is a goddess of primordial chaos, and carried it forward. You know, it's not that they were necessarily being sexist. This is
This
just
isn't new.
yeah.
This is not new. This is not original. This is not Gary Gygax saying, you know what seems like fun, villainizing women today. No, that's not it. This is just history. And for any of my female viewers out there, I'm sure that you get it. It's just how it's been for centuries.
Yeah, and you could ask, well, why'd they make her evil then? She could be chaos without evil. Well, even here it says that Tiamat would threaten the order established by the gods. Um, so she symbolizes force of chaos, which threaten the order established by the gods, and Marduk is the hero. The hero, generally heroes are the good guys who preserves it. So I mean, it's again, it's like cherry picking, like saying it's like it would be like saying, well, why'd they make Vecna a man? That is just like, you know, just I don't understand why all of horrible serial killers have to be male. It's not right.
So one of our viewers had the best comment in the world, and I couldn't agree with this more. It's absolutely sexist for that women's knitting circle to not allow men into their knitting and scrapbooking circle. That's what that is. It's
Yeah, my mom's cat club. Yeah.
yeah, sexism.
I it doesn't it just it's very frustrating for people um to take quotes from history more than 50 years old and pluck them out of their own context, their own time, and then put a modern day spin on it and say, see, that person's entire life is nothing but a sexist, misogynist romp through the land of RPGs,
Yeah,
right?
he just doesn't come across like that for me. And in RPGs, men like rescuing women. That's just how it is. Men have always felt better when they feel strong and they feel powerful. That's why men are notorious for, how can I fix this? Stop. I need you to listen to my feelings. And men love rescuing women. And anyone who's seen the recent Barbie movie would know that that's true of masculine energy. They just like rescuing things. But in RPGs, you can't rescue women unless there's something for them to be rescued from.
Yeah, and I think the original D&D where, I think one of the things I was actually reading the Europa um, magazine or zine, I guess it was at the time, and they were mentioning that only at the time when they would go to their wargaming conventions, and there was a long conversation, there was a long article on this topic in Europa. It's worth looking at if you guys want to look it up. But when they would go to wargaming conventions, only 1% of the attendees were female. And they kept, well, why is that? And these guys were all sitting around like, why don't women like Napoleonic Wars and, like all these things that are that, and all I could think of is my mom asking the question, well, why don't guys enjoy crocheting? Like, they would have such a good time coming to the crochet club and just crocheting with us. It's like,
Or World War II. I've rarely ever met a woman who's like, ooh, do you want to see all of my videos in this amazing documentary on World War II? There might be some, but it's not the
yeah,
majority.
yeah. I mean, it's guys and gals are wired differently. But in any case, pressing on. So I want to
Okay.
remind everybody of this quote that Ben Riggs put at the start of this whole fiasco. Damn right, I'm sexist. Quote: doesn't
Yeah.
matter to me if women get paid as much as men. They can jolly well stay that way from a war game. From war, they can jolly well. I can't even speak. They can
They can
jolly
jolly
well
well
stay
stay
away
away.
from war gaming in droves for all I care.
There we
Right.
go.
So what, like, depending on the inflection that we put on this, an angry Gary Gygax. Damn right, I'm sexist. It doesn't matter to me if a woman gets paid as much as men, or
Let's show them the
like,
full quote.
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
like, think about the inflection, that all the different inflections that could be put
Okay.
on that. So
I have been
Gary's being
accused
interviewed
of
by Walter Haas for Europa magazine, and
I've
of
been accused
course,
of being nasty old sexist male chauvinist pig for the wording in D&D isn't what it should be. There should be more emphasis on the female role, more non-gender names, and so forth. I thought perhaps these folks were right in considered adding women in the raping and pillaging section in the whores and tavern wenches chapter. There's obviously some sarcasm there, people.
yeah, I
But
mean, yes,
go on.
it's hyperbolic to a massive degree.
And I go back to what I said. I mean, men like rescuing women, and they're not going to do that if there's nothing for them to feel like they are rescuing women from. I mean, and having them be slaves or tavern wenches or this, poor beautiful woman, this damsel in distress is the easiest thing to do. Otherwise, why rescue her?
Yeah, and again, these are war gamers designing a role-playing game, and they're the same war gamers who are wondering why are only 1% of women coming to our events? You know,
No,
so the quote goes on, but eventually he comes to the quote that he decided to cherry pick out of this,
yes,
where it doesn't matter to me if women get paid as much as men. It's obvious that this is all hyperbolic. Think about the inflection. He's probably laughing while he's saying this. He's probably got a silly voice going on. And
air
that's the
quote.
thing that always gets lost in print is the inflection and the tone in which it's delivered. Uh, Gary Gygax hired tons of women at TSR. He had Darlene do his precious Greyhawk map, probably one of the things that meant the most to him in the world of gaming. Um, they had women do the covers of some of the OD&D books, namely Eldritch Wizardry. That was Deborah Larson that did this cover.
A
Uh,
woman did this, people. It's not just a sexist picture. A woman drew this.
thank you. So uh, it's just so dirty for people to like carve up and misquote, or in the last video I showed how like somebody would quote unquote attribute something to Gary Gygax that was, women can't enjoy RPGs because they have tiny brains, and they put that in quotes and attribute it to Gary Gygax. And then that is the headline of their post. And there's lots of people who won't even read further, and it's just like those who aren't willing to do the digging are going to walk away saying, "Oh my God, he's a terrible person."
He
Uh,
cherry picked this one quote and waited until Gary Gygax is no longer with us and can't even defend himself before he decides to throw this crap out. Yeah, okay.
But I go to Gary Con. It's my favorite Gary. It's my favorite gaming convention,
Yep.
and it's
And
the
I'll see you
one
guys next year.
convention where you can still meet Darlene and all of the old guard, TSR guard, all the people that actually gamed with Gary, and they could tell you firsthand what he was like. And the stories are much like the Kelsey Dion story that I shared at the end of the last video where we talked about this topic, where she had nothing but wonderful things, encouraging things to say about Gary. She's a 12-year-old girl, and he's telling her, you need to be a dungeon master. You're going to be great at this. And she goes on to develop Shadow Dark, one of the big success stories of 2023. It's amazing. And it's not the actions of a misogynist gatekeeper,
Right.
to encourage a little girl to go on and become a game master and develop games and make, and it was such a formative thing in her life. So it's frustrating. It's frustrating to see people just try to tear people down because using like little snapshots, moments in history, and out of context. It's ridiculous. So,
Yeah. I'm glad we're drinking for this one. So
yes, I needed
comment,
it.
like, subscribe, comment down below. Let us know what you guys think. I'd love to hear your input. Like, subscribe, and come back and have another round on us.